Have you felt it lately? That little crack in the perfect polished surface of everything? It feels like from our social media feeds to our actual living rooms, there's this huge shift away from flawless and towards, well, something more real. So let's get into it and figure out why our world is suddenly obsessed with being imperfect. And this quote right here from the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, just nails it. In a world where AI can turn out perfect images, perfect text, perfect everything, our human instinct is to look for the opposite. We're searching for the raw, the messy, the stuff that proves a real person was there. So that's the big question, right? Why the sudden rejection of perfect? And look, this isn't just about what looks cool. It goes way deeper into our psychology, into our technology, and into this very real human need for connection. We're going to try and unpack that whole thing right now. Okay, first things first, let's just look at the evidence all around us. Because this isn't some niche little trend. No, this is a full-blown cultural burnout with the constant pressure to be perfect, and you can see and feel it everywhere. I mean, just think about it. For years, the internet was all about those filtered faces, sterile minimalist rooms, and just a constant highlight reel of everyone's best moments. But now, the tide is completely turning. We're all craving unedited selfies, warm, cozy spaces, and the beauty of something that was actually made by hand. We're tired of performing perfection. We're ready for some real connection. And this isn't just a vibe. You can actually measure it. On social media, there's been a massive 300% jump in the use of the hashtag Wabi-Sabi. And that's just since the beginning of last year. That is a huge signal that this old idea is suddenly going completely mainstream. So what is this concept that's taking over our feeds, Wabi-Sabi? Let's dig into what it actually means and how this ancient philosophy is getting a total reboot for the 21st century. At its heart, Wabi-Sabi is a traditional Japanese worldview. It's all about finding beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. It actually comes from Buddhist teachings about reality, and honestly, it's a pretty radical idea compared to the Western obsession with everything being flawless and permanent. So what does that actually look like? Well, it's about appreciating things like asymmetry and roughness. It's about finding beauty in simplicity and modesty. And it's really about this deep appreciation for natural things, for the way the world actually is, not how we try to polish it up. It values the authentic over the mass-produced, every single time. And this idea is anything but new. It has incredibly deep roots in Zen Buddhism. It was made famous way back in the 16th century by a tea master named Sen no Rikyu. And now, centuries later, it's exploded in the West, mostly through things like interior design and social media. But here's the thing, right? Whenever an idea travels across cultures and across centuries, stuff gets, well, lost and gained in translation. The wabi-sabi that you see trending online today isn't exactly the same as the original Japanese philosophy. This is so fascinating. See, in its original Japanese context, wabi-sabi's beauty was considered kind of hidden. You needed skill and knowledge to really see it. And it embraced difficult things like loneliness as a path to spiritual growth. The Western version, it's much more inclusive. It's for everybody. But here's the biggest difference: the focus. The original was about finding imperfect beauty in the world around you. The Western version has turned that inward. It's become a remedy for our own personal perfectionism. Which brings us to a really important question. Is this whole trend just a new aesthetic? Is it just a different way to decorate our homes and curate our feeds? Or is there something much, much deeper going on here? Oh yeah, there is. This trend is deeply connected to a growing mental health crisis, especially among young people, who are just crumbling under the insane weight of needing to appear perfect all the time. So, a recent study from the International Journal of Indian Psychology decided to look at this head-on. They wanted to examine the direct link between this drive for perfection and the feeling of loneliness in Gen Z. And what they found was pretty stark. The researchers basically concluded that perfectionism is one of the biggest mental health challenges hitting this generation. The constant pressure to be perfect, which is just amplified 1,000 times by social media, is leading directly to stress, anxiety, and this really profound sense of being all alone. Now, if you dig into the actual data here, it gets even more interesting. They looked at 3 kinds of perfectionism. Self-oriented, that's the high standards you put on yourself. Other-oriented, the high standards you put on others. Both were linked to loneliness. But then, look at that last one,
socially prescribed perfectionism. That's the feeling that society, that everyone out there, expects you to be perfect. And boom! By far the strongest link to loneliness. So that cultural pressure to be perfect, it is literally making people feel more alone.
So this deep psychological need for a break from perfection is now forcing some of the biggest companies in the world to completely rethink how they do business.
Think about it from Instagram's point of view. Their feeds are getting absolutely flooded with flawless, perfect, and totally soulless AI-generated junk. And just like we heard in that opening quote, they're realizing that in this new world, authenticity and imperfection are suddenly rare. And because they're rare, they're incredibly valuable. So they're fighting back. Instagram's new game plan is basically a hunt for what they call human texture. First, they're trying to verify real media at the source, when it's made, instead of just chasing fakes. Second, they're tweaking their algorithm to reward originality, to boost creators who actually make new things, not just reposting old stuff. And third, they're actively building tools that encourage a more raw, unfiltered, and imperfect look. The Wabi-Sabi mindset is literally being coded into the platform. And all of this leads to one final, huge question. In a world of perfect fakes, where technology can create endless illusions of flawlessness, is imperfection becoming the only proof we have that we're still human? Maybe that little flaw, that crack, that unedited, messy moment, maybe it isn't just a trend. Maybe it's the last best way we have to prove to each other that we're still here.